This is your Mass Creative host, Damien King, back on the Cutting Room Podcast here at FSW for Mania Weekend. To start my week off, I have Jeaux Braxton. How you doing, Jeaux Braxton? How you doing?
What's up, bro?
Good seeing you, brother.
Yeah, I'm seeing your mask there. I feel like any second a laser could come out of there and blast me, knock my socks off.
There's a whole concept behind the mask, actually. But I'm glad you liked it and everything. But I like to be like, it's inspired by Batman. I'm not sure
Okay.
if you're a fan of him,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
kind of living
Okay.
like a double life, and being a creative and being a person that's in real life, kind of like being a superhero by night.
I can kind of identify with that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I'll be bringing you into action world, and we can exchange some notes on that. That's interesting.
Appreciate it, man. So former FSW No Limits champion,
That's right. Yeah.
member of Lights Camera Faction.
The creator as well of Lights Camera Faction. Yeah.
Nice. And then inaugural winner of the Benefit for Bay Battle Royal winner.
That's right.
Also the star of the 2000s.
And the icon of the century and the power to the building.
Nice. Love it, man.
So
So
the action Braxton. That's right. Yeah.
right off the bat, what area in Chicago did you grow up in?
I actually didn't grow up in Chicago. It's funny you're not the first person to ask me that, but yeah, there's this misinformation going around that I was raised in Chicago. That is not true. I was born in Las Vegas, right here. This
Okay.
is my hometown. We're in my hometown. WrestleMania is in my hometown this year. It's something that I've been waiting my whole life for. But I was actually raised here, and as soon as I graduated from high school, I moved straight to Chicago.
Okay.
Where I ended up going to college. So I went to Columbia College Chicago,
Mhm.
which is on most of my social media. So I think people seen that I went to college and went to school in Chicago. So I think they conflated that
Mhm.
with me actually being from Chicago. I'm not from Chicago,
Okay.
but I did go to school there and spent a lot of time there. And I do love Chicago. Chicago was really good to me, but I'm not actually from Chicago.
Okay. Then
When I was in Chicago, I went downtown. I lived downtown.
okay.
I lived in downtown Chicago, and so that's where I spent my time in Chicago, was downtown.
When and how did pro wrestling come into your life?
Wrestling's always been a part of my life. My earliest memories of actually even like remembering anything is like wrestling shows. Like one of my earliest memories of life is watching Chris Jericho versus Edge main event of SmackDown in like 2002. My grandfather was a big wrestling fan, and so it didn't matter what was going on every Monday, every Friday, or sometimes SmackDown was on Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling was on any night that it was on, and it's crazy because then I sort of took over following wrestling, and I would find every time that wrestling was on, and that led to me even finding wrestling that wasn't WWE. Because I remember just sifting through the channels one day and I saw TNA wrestling, and I was like, "What is this?"
Mm-hmm.
And clicked on that and was introduced to TNA, and like that was, really cool to me at the time that it was, popping off, because it was around like 2005, 2006 that I had discovered it.
Yeah.
And to me, like that's when TNA was really starting to like hit its peak as an alternative product. So yeah, like wrestling's kind of always been a part of my childhood, always been a part of like my adulthood, every stage of life. I could kind of remember it based on what was happening in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned people like Chris Jericho, but when was the first time you got to see a Shawn Michaels match? Do you recall that?
When was the first time I got to see Shawn?
Yeah.
I would say it was probably around that time, because when I would watch Raw, I was always at my grandparents' house in Moreno Valley, California.
Mm.
And anytime I would get to do like summer breaks or winter breaks over at their house, it was always like super cool for me, because I was like, oh man, I'll get to watch Raw now.
Okay.
Because out here, at my house, we didn't have cable.
Mm-hmm.
So I would only get to watch SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
So it was probably like around like 2003 that I can like, that was like my earliest memories of watching Shawn, as like 2003 on Monday Night Raw. But I ended up becoming a big Shawn Michaels fan when I actually, was able to like go home and watch,
Mm-hmm.
Raw when we had cable and stuff, and we finally were able to afford it. Shawn Michaels was my favorite guy on Monday Night Raw, so like became a big Shawn guy.
Do you have a favorite Shawn Michaels moment?
Man, there's so many. There's so many. And that's the thing. As a Shawn fan, like you're spoiled, because he did everything. Like he made every time that he was on WWE TV, especially in his later half of his career, every time that Sean was on TV felt special. Um, every match he had on TV felt special.
Yeah.
Um, if I were to go into some favorites, um, I would say some of his WrestleMania rewinds I thought were pretty cool. Like I thought him and Jericho's WrestleMania rewind match was cool. Him and Jericho had a bunch of really great matches on Monday Night Raw. I would say Shawn versus Ray on the Eddie Guerrero tribute show.
Yeah.
Anytime Shawn and Triple H wrestled, I was always captivated by it. And just to give one more, I'll say Shawn and Edge. All of their matches together in the Ruthless Aggression era, I was a really big fan of. I would say Orton too. Anytime he wrestled Orton, I was a really big fan of that too. So
Shawn was really able to have a really good chemistry with anybody. That's what made him so great.
Yeah.
Here on the Cutting Room Podcast, it's not just about pro wrestling. We also talk about films.
Okay.
Your top 5 films of all time.
Top 5.
If it's too much, you can narrow it down to 3. But which are your top watches?
You know, it's funny because most people build from 5 up, but it'd be a lot easier for me to tell you like from the top down what my favorite all-time movies are. Number 1 is definitely Endgame, Avengers Endgame.
Okay.
Lights, Camera, Faction is called the greatest movie you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
We call ourselves the greatest movie you've ever seen because one day me and the group were talking about like our favorite movies, and like we're all big Marvel fans, as you might see like from some of our like imagery and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, when somebody had said like, yeah, Avengers Endgame, that's the greatest movie I've ever seen, and like a light bulb just went off, and I was like, oh wow, I think that's what we should call ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that should be like a slogan that we use: the greatest movie you've ever seen, Lights, Camera, Faction. So like, yeah, that all started because we were talking about Avengers Endgame. Yeah, greatest movie I've ever seen. So that's number 1 for sure. I would say number 2. I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan.
Really?
And I really like movies that are like that are kind of mind benders.
Memento, Interstellar.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Inception.
Nice.
So I'll put Inception as my number 2. Number 3, we'll call it Black Panther.
Okay.
As far as like moments in the theater, I'll never ever forget seeing Black Panther for the first time. It really changed. And for anybody that's like a black person living in America, I think it like hit a lot of people and changed a lot of people's lives, and hit a lot of people at a really important moment in time. But I will never forget leaving the theater feeling so inspired and feeling so like just galvanized to do great things with my life, because I think that was a real moment where you saw, a film with black actors that transcended just being a black movie and was really just like a great movie for the world to see and enjoy African culture and people celebrating being African, and also like a very African story.
And black directed as well.
And yeah, black directed as well. And like I feel like the last time that happened, it was probably like The Lion King.
Okay.
And like I would even put Lion King up there as far as like movies that I really love and really and are really close to me. But number 2, I would say, oh man, I would say number 2. Number 4, right? Because I just did 3. So number 4, I'll give the number 4 spot to. I think I'll give the number 4 spot to Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Broadway show, but
yeah,
they made a movie of it.
That's okay.
And that was another thing that when it came out really kind of had a big impact on me, just as far as like diversity in entertainment and diversity on like a big scale and a big stage kind of crossing over and becoming a big culture moment.
Okay.
I feel like Hamilton is like the biggest thing that has happened in theater since like maybe like the Phantom of the Opera.
Okay.
And if you're not tapped into like theater and Broadway and stuff, like around 2016, it was like the biggest show in the world. It was like the biggest stage show in the world.
Hmm.
But they made like a movie of it, like a movie of the stage show, and released it. And
Yeah.
like anytime I want to go back and kind of get re-inspired the same way that I was when I was, a young adult, I'll go back and I'll watch Hamilton. And number 5, I want to give number 5 to a special. I want to make number 5 a special one. Man, there's so many great movies, and I'm a big movie fan. Like
You've also given love to John Singleton as well when he passed away. Is the John Singleton film land on your top 5 at all?
Well, I'm sorry, say that again.
That you've given love to John Singleton, the director of Boys in the Hood, when he passed away. Would any of his films, like Baby Boy, Boys in the Hood, be on your top 5?
A lot of those are super classic for me. Yeah, that I grew up with. Definitely, I would definitely give those honorable mentions for sure.
Okay. But not a top 5.
I wouldn't put any of them in my top 5, but it's just like they're culture pieces too. Like they're classics. Like
Yeah.
I'm a guy that loves classics. Even Spike Lee, you would have to throw a ton of Spike Lee movies in there, and a ton of respect to that and his body of work. Even Denzel movies, like I would put a ton of like Denzel stuff in that honorable mention too. Like I was a big fan of when he got into bringing August Wilson's plays to life, starting with Fences. Like I was a big fan of that movie, and a ton of Denzel Washington's movies in general. I'm a super huge fan. You know what? I'll give number 5 to my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
We'll give Revenge of the Sith number 5,
which is actually on its 20th, 25th anniversary.
25th anniversary,
25th anniversary?
20-year anniversary.
20-year anniversary, yes.
Yeah, I'll never forget seeing that for the first time in 2005 either. When I went to that was the first Star Wars movie that I ever went to the theater to actually go and see. Yeah.
Nice. Oh man, I got to see the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually got to see that whole trilogy in theaters.
Okay.
So it was a great experience.
Cool.
You're right. Like you think back on that era, and it was the story we wanted to see.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was just like, especially as a kid too. Like, I didn't. Like I had seen the classic movies, but I didn't like understand like fully like Darth. I just seen Darth Vader,
Yeah.
But after seeing Episode 3 and like getting attached to Anakin and seeing the way that they orchestrated that whole script, I feel like it's one of the best written Star Wars movies. But I also, and this is my favorite thing about the movie, is the score, the music. I'm a big fan of all of John Williams' stuff, but I feel like Revenge of the Sith is John Williams at his very, very best.
Especially if Duel of Fates and Phantom Menace for sure is an iconic piece of music and art. It was so good for that fight as well.
Yeah.
So, best advice that D'Lo Brown and Kenny King gave to you.
Oh wow, we're getting deep here, folks. The best advice that D'Lo and separately or.
You can do separately. Yeah, I know it's two different styles of learning, two different teachers, but
Yeah. I would say a really great piece of advice that I got from D'Lo was to commit 100% to a character. When I was early developing who I wanted to be in wrestling, experimenting in practice matches and experimenting in drills, which is really where you get yourself in practice as far as who you are and what your character is. Like in these drills, like you gotta treat them like you would it like it was WrestleMania. You gotta and that's really where you can practice your identity in the ring and practice the identity of your character and stuff. So I would practice things in matches and practice drills and things. And D'Lo would just always tell me, if you're gonna go a direction with a character, commit 100% to that direction and commit 100% to coming up with ideas for that direction that you want to take that character in. I would say that was definitely like huge in my early development in wrestling. And best piece of advice I would say that I've got from Kenny King um, would be to always imagine yourself as a main event. Like whatever character you're coming from, or even if you're reinventing yourself, or you're coming up with a new character, or you're going somewhere that you've never been before, or you're wrestling someone that you've never wrestled before, or you're entering any situation that you are unfamiliar with or uncomfortable with. His advice to me was always present yourself like you're the champ. Present yourself like you're the main event. Present yourself like you're the biggest star on the show. Present yourself like everybody should be paying attention to you. Because it sounds simple and it sounds so like I guess fundamental, but there's so many aspects of this wrestling thing where you get inside your head and you're thinking, oh, well, should I present myself like this? Or, oh, I'm in this situation, so maybe I should present myself like this. And so getting that piece of advice of just always present yourself as a star and always present yourself as a main eventer, I think that really helped as far as my journey and as far as the things and situations that I'll put myself moving forward. And I think maybe like he had seen situations that I was in where he could tell that I was struggling with that, and he could tell that I didn't know what to do. But that piece of advice really changed a lot as far as like what I did in situations moving forward where I was either new to a situation or I was in a situation where I was outside of my comfort zone.
Great advice, but from both of them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times wrestlers are sometimes caught in the crowd and become wrestlers later on in life, but yours is actually very different. You were a camera operator for Impact Wrestling before you became a wrestler, correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a true story.
How was that experience for you?
It was great. I started when I had first dropped out of college, moved back to Las Vegas. I was unsure of what I wanted to do with my life. I was unsure of what I was going to do professionally. But I just always, kind of go back to my love of wrestling. And while I was in college, I always dreamt of wrestling. Like when I was pursuing film and TV, my thought was still like, oh man, like I would love to one day like go back to wrestling. So when I dropped out of school, I was like, well, I guess I can like get back around wrestling now, but like I didn't know like how to go about it, and I had all this film and TV knowledge, so I was like, you know what? Why don't I just go to the indies and help out with the production? Because I'm like, if I'm going to be around wrestling, maybe I can just make myself useful. So I went to FSW and I asked them if they needed help with their production, and they did. And I did a couple things for them, but where they really liked me and where they really liked utilizing me was as the cameraman, because they're just like, man, you get great shots. You like really have an understanding for this thing. And it was because like I had ring experience and I had a ring mind. Like I had a mind for what was going on in wrestling, because all I did all day was think about and study wrestling. So they really liked me in the camera position. So when TNA came to Vegas and they were looking for camera operators, I was the first guy on the list to be brought in to do that for them. So it was actually a crazy kind of moment of like, I guess like choices and also fate coming at the same time, because I was the very same time that I just started doing camera for TNA, and my first time doing camera for TNA was also Chris Bay's debut for TNA.
Okay.
Before they had signed him. But at the very same time, there was a guy who was debuting for the company. And when my Uber had picked me up to take me to Sam's Town, there was another guy in this Uber. And the Uber driver was like, oh, you guys are both going to Sam's Town. And I looked at the guy and I was like, oh, really? I was like, oh, are you going for the tryout or whatever? And the guy was like, no, this is actually my first day on the job. They actually hired me. I was like, oh, fuck.
Nice.
And that guy turned out to be Ace Austin.
Wow. Wow.
So like we always have that story, and we always tell that story, to people. So yeah, that was a really cool experience. It was 3 days, and after those 3 days, every time TNA had come back to Vegas, I was the guy that they hired on crew at that era, at that point in time, to be their camera operator, because I was just good at the job and I was local,
Mhm.
so they didn't have to fly anybody in to do it. They just had somebody that was there that could show up and do it. Um, so yeah, that was how that kind of came about. Is it came from me doing camera work on the Indies.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've name dropped a couple people, but then I like to name drop one other person.
Yeah, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but your first match victory was it against Solo Sokoa?
No, no, no. He's not the first person I ever got a win on. I actually never got the chance to actually beat Sefa Fatu at the
Okay,
time.
Sefa Fatu, yes, correct.
Yeah, when he was on the Indies, he was Sefa Fatu, and he's the first person that Lights Camera Faction got to have a program and a feud with.
Okay.
So in 2019, at the end of 2019, we had just formed as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the year, it's the FSW tradition to have the 30-man Rumble.
Okay.
And at the time, the show was called Against All Odds.
Mm-hmm.
So the 2019 Against All Odds Rumble, you'll see Lights Camera Faction, and yeah, we came out there and we were using our numbers game to an advantage. And when Cephad came out there, we ganged up on him, and he ends up eliminating all three of us. And then that led to on the next couple of shows us kind of getting into a program with them, and that was like kind of our big launching point as far as like this new group is something to look at, because they're wrestling this main event level guy, So that shout out to Sefa Fatu, shout out to Solo, man. Yeah, he was a big part of us getting our idea off the ground at that time.
Nice. What match do you think taught you the most that you learned from?
A match that I would say taught me the most. It's kind of hard because, man, we're always learning and we're always growing and we're always developing our styles, and there's a bunch of different things to learn. Like, I would say I've had different growth throughout certain matches as a singles wrestler as opposed to having growth as a tag team wrestler, and then I feel like I've had different matches with the faction where it was all four of us,
Mm-hmm.
where we grew as a team and figuring out how to do 8-man tag team matches.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say a couple matches that I learned a lot from. One I would say was when we wrestled Matt Hardy, Ethan Page, and Isaiah Cassidy on AEW. And that was just because, like, that was our first match on, I guess you could say, like
Dark.
like televised programming. And it was a quick 6-man tag team match. I'm talking like a 6-man tag team match that was going to take place over the course of 4 or 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time in my career, if you had told me have a 6-man tag in 5 minutes, like, my mind would be like, well, how the hell do you do that? But doing that with Matt Hardy and Ethan Page and Isaiah Cassidy, and learning from them in how to do that, it was really eye-opening, and it was really like, oh, wow, so you can do this, or you can just do this, or you can manage the time this way.
Mm-hmm.
Managing time is something that you kind of learn and grow in your development, but that was a big eye-opener for me. Was that if I had to name one off the top of my head, that was a big, like, a lot of light bulbs went off in that match. So shout out to Matt Hardy, shout out to Ethan Page, shout out to Isaiah Cassidy.
And make sure to check out that match also as well, because I was able to see that match
It's
as
still
well.
up there.
And now that you explain it that way, it makes sense why that match went the way it did. So
Yeah.
appreciate you for
Still out there.
dropping some knowledge on me on that. Back to Lights Camera Faction.
Yeah.
Other than pro wrestling, what binds the team together?
Just like anything in any great team, any great faction, it's real life bonding and real life brotherhood and a real life friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Before we had come together to form the group, like, we were all cool outside of the ring, and like, I think we were all sort of like one way or another fans, or at least complimentary of what the other was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because Fresco at the time was a rookie, and I was like keeping tabs on him because I was like, oh, he's charismatic, like, I think he's cool. And Watson, I was always a fan of the stuff that he was doing in Arizona and the stuff that he was doing with Championship Wrestling, which is now known as United Wrestling Network.
Okay.
And Ice, I was always a fan of what he was doing on his own, because he was an FSW guy, but he was starting to get around, and like, I really liked what he was doing. I thought he was really charismatic and really entertaining. I thought he had a total package. You know, like I saw him being successful. Um, but we would all just play Call of Duty, bro. Like we would play Call of Duty. We'd hop on the mic and like that's what we would spend our time doing. And um, I specifically remember during COVID, there was a lot of times that we were just hanging out on the headset playing Call of Duty or playing Rocket League or playing whatever, and we'd just be on the headset for hours just talking about life, talking about what we wanted to do with life, talking about ideas, throwing ideas around, throwing gimmicks around, throwing like scenarios around. And I just remember at some point when we were on there, like I remember just pitching the idea to him, like, yeah, bro, like what if you joined us?
Yeah.
And he was like, at first he was kind of apprehensive to the idea because he was a babyface. We were heels, and he was like, man, I don't know, I'm trying to do this babyface thing, and I think I can, take it to the top. Like I think I can be a main event babyface. I was like, I think you'd be a main event babyface too, but it's not like you can't turn back babyface. Yeah. Like I was like, you have something that like you can do a whole bunch of things with, like, and I think if you turned heel, I was like, man, everybody would be interested in that legendary heel run. Like I was like, people would remember you having a heel run, especially if you were with us.
Yeah.
And initially when I told him, I was like, you don't even have to fully join the group. It can just be an alliance. Like it could just be Lights Camera Faction working with Ice Williams. Like kind of like when the New Day was kind of like allied up with Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Around like 2015, and like they were they weren't like, it wasn't like Seth Rollins was in the New Day, but they were kind of palling around. And so I told him that, and he thought about it, and I think the more he thought about it, the more excited he got about the idea, because he's a fan of factions too. Like he's a fan of like really great groups that have gotten together, like the Shield and DX and Undisputed Era and stuff like that. So like we had connected on that level too, because we had always like loved those teams. And he was like, man, like I always wanted to be in a faction. And so I was like, bro, look, like you can do it, and eventually we can do something where like we break off and something else, and something happens, and maybe we make a story out of it. But he had liked the idea so much that he was just like, man, I want to be with you guys. Like I want to make this a thing. Like I want to build the team. I want to be a part of the team. And we started talking about like traveling the indies together and like making our brand a thing that goes to other places, and we build bigger and have a vision for it, and like even include like on another tip like other people into the group, and bring other stars from other places into the group and make the group a big thing.
Yeah.
And so when he turned heel and joined up with us, it at the time, if you were following it was 2021, so we were just kind of coming back from COVID, and not a whole lot was hot on the indies, and not a lot of stuff was popping off. So if you were following the indies at the time, you probably saw what we did, because it made some ripples. And like our first feud as like the four of us together, the super group, was Chris Bay and Sefa Fatu, Solo Sikoa. And so like it generated attention and it drew attention, and the group only grew from that point. 2021, it was like, wow, this is the best year of our career. And 2022, it was like, wow, this is the best year of our career. And then 2023 was like, we're getting opportunities at AEW and stuff, and it was like, wow, this is crazy. And then 2024, like we took it even higher and even bigger and even better, and we added, or I'm sorry, it wasn't 2024. It was in 2023 when Kenny was added to the group. Kenny King was added to the group. So when Kenny King joined the group, it was really like, whoa, like this is crazy. This group is crazy. And like a lot of people we started to turn a lot of heads, because it was like, now this is a group of 5 guys, and they have a guy with the pedigree of Kenny King and the resume of Kenny King. You're talking about, a Ring of Honor pure champion. You're talking about a TNA X Division champion, a Ring of Honor tag team champion, a Ring of Honor television champion. And for him to kind of be like the godfather of our group, and him to be like the star from before, who is bringing and ushering in these new stars and ushering in a generation of future stars. I really think that like, I still believe like there's still so much you can do with that, like on a television program. But our run on the indies has been like, I'll say it's for an indie, for a group that was made on the indies and did everything on the indies. It's something that I think people are going to look back on as being pretty epic and pretty legendary, because we took this indie group, and as a group on the indies, got ourselves on television together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that doesn't happen. You know, like people getting an opportunity and doing this shit together, it almost never happens. So I would say that, and the fact that we were able to take our faction act to so many different places. I mean, you will have seen Lights Camera Faction not only on AEW and on Ring of Honor, but you'll have seen it on freaking Reality of Wrestling in Texas, and you'll have seen it on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in California,
Mm-hmm.
and Big Time Wrestling in California, and Without a Cause before they went out of business in Seattle, Washington, and freaking Spokane, Washington, and Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. We had a whole freaking like super heel faction run in Arizona, where we just kind of we're going to different companies and just tearing shit up. And our run out here where we won all the titles, like we did a lot of really cool stuff together, and we're still doing a lot of really cool stuff together. We just this year turned into baby faces, which is funny because you rewind 4 years ago, I told Ice, yeah bro, you can always turn back into a baby face.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4 years later, the biggest villain group in Las Vegas, turned babyface, and everybody loves us now.
I want to talk about a promotion that you mentioned and leads to my next question. What did it mean to you to get the rub from Booker T?
It meant everything. It meant everything to me for Booker T to not only like acknowledge us, but to like give us props and respect and put us over. Like I had Booker T action figures, bro. Like I had Booker T toys, and like would always play as Booker T in the video games because I always thought his movements were just so like animated and different, and like his taunts and his freaking the spinaroonie and the axe kick and the scissors kick, the stuff that he would do, it was just so unique, and he had a style that was so different from everybody else. Like he just stood out to me, and I honestly like take a lot of my style and a lot of like the way that I move in the ring and certain things that I do. I've borrowed a lot from Booker T and taken a lot of inspiration from him, and that was before I met him.
Yeah.
And after I met him and actually got to learn things from him, and pick his brain about things and get mentorship from him. Those are moments in your life and in your career that really show you, one, that you're on the right path, and two, that like I'm good at this. Because if he sees these potentials in me, and he wants to utilize my talents, and he's talking about me on ESPN radio, like I'm doing something right, and I've got something here that I can keep working on and progressing on and building on. So all the respect in the world to Booker T, bro.
There's another name that you've mentioned a couple times in this interview too, and it also brings me to this other next question.
Yeah.
The benefit for Bay Battle Royal.
Yeah.
You're the inaugural winner.
That's right. Yeah.
What did it mean to you to win that match?
Oh man, it meant it's another thing that I would say meant everything to me, bro. Chris is someone like I give certain people props as far as being like instrumental in my career, and I used to call Chris Big Bro because like that's how I looked at him. Like he was my big brother in wrestling, because he would always give me advice as far as like how to be better and how to get better and how to get people to look at me a certain way. And I think my career would be a lot different if it weren't for Chris Bay.
Okay.
And before he was signed, there was this build up for him. It was 2018. He called it 2018. But there was this upward where you could see more and more people were talking about Chris Bay, and I could just feel it. I could kind of feel that he was gonna get picked up soon, and so like I'll never forget. Excuse me. Just texting him and saying, "Hey man, like if I can, I would really love to like go on the road with you and travel with you to your shows." Because when you're early in your development as a wrestler, that's kind of like a really important thing to do, is to find people to travel with.
Yeah.
So that not only can you get more experiences going to other shows, but so that you can meet people and you can, get your face out there and get your name out there and try to network and build connection. And Chris was really instrumental in me being able to do that. And he took me on the road with him, and I would always just pick his brain and ask him questions, and he would introduce me to people, and I had a lot of really cool moments early in my career because I got to travel with Chris. Um, and it's funny, it's ironic because then when I build this group, the first person that we target is him, and we have this long history of like fighting each other and being at odds with each other. But that show meant everything in the world to me because I really wanted to be a part of it. I really wanted to just show Chris that like I love him and care about him, and that being a part of that show meant something to me. And I even told him when I was back there, I was like, bro, this is one of the most special things I've ever done. Like, this is one of the coolest things I've ever done in my career. Not only because I was there with all of these, WWE and AEW and TNA and New Japan stars all in one place, but because we were all gathered together to do something cool for Chris. Because Chris has left that big of an impact and that deep of an impact on myself and on everybody that was there and on even people that weren't there, and you can see I'm wearing his merch right now, like he's a guy who's inspired a lot of people to get up off their ass and to start busting their ass, and that's what he's been able to do for me in my career, and a lot more. Like, he's done a lot for a lot of people, and he's done a lot for me. So Chris Bay, man, the greatest story ever told. He's doing it. He's in the middle of it, and I support him. I support him in everything he's doing, and I think what he's doing is really special. I think he's only getting started as far as the impact he's going to have on the lives of people and the impact he's going to have on this business. But you saw it start there, and I'm very fortunate and very lucky that I got to be a part of that. In fact, that I get to say that I was the winner of the first Chris Bay Battle Royal. I cherish that, and that's always going to be one of the most special notches that I have on my jacket.
It's a championship that you carry in your heart, not around your waist.
Absolutely.
Chris Bay, we wish you a speedy recovery. So in a previous interview that I saw with you, there's something that stood out to me more than anything else, and because I'm a fan of this film over the other ones. Friday After Next over the original two?
Yeah.
Why is that?
That's the Christmas movie, right?
Yeah, that's the Christmas one.
Yeah. Bro, I'm a Christmas mark. Yeah, I'm a huge mark for Christmas.
Okay.
So one, that, but two, also, like, I feel like when you have a really great classic, like the first one is the classic. I feel like it's real hard to come back and almost top the first one.
Yeah.
Or be as good as the first one. And you see it a lot of times. They call it the terrible twos.
Yeah.
Right. And Friday After Next was like one of the perfect examples of a team and writers and actors and artists and creatives coming back and even in topping themselves and taking something cool and something classic that they did and making something that's even more classic and even more cool, and they did it over and over again, and they're about to do it one more time, bro. They're about to come up with one last Friday, bro. One last Friday.
This is what we've been waiting on for the past 20 years, honestly.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one too.
What is the legacy that Jeaux Braxton wants to leave behind?
I think the legacy that I want to leave behind is that of somebody who did the impossible and was able to show everybody, not only like in the world of wrestling, but outside of the world of wrestling, that you can climb any hill you want to. I got into this, I was 140 pounds. I was not the most athletic kid. I didn't really do sports when I was young, and I had a pretty low pain tolerance. like all these factors that would lead to someone not being like cut out to be a wrestler. And I don't come from like a legacy family. Nobody I've ever known in my life has ever done this. And not only that, but almost everybody in my life advised me to not do this. Like, I didn't receive a lot of like encouragement and a lot of like support or a lot of like positive reinforcement to chase this career path.
Yeah.
This was all me. This was me gambling on me and trying to do something that a lot of people, most people, thought I could not do and would not be successful at. And when you wake up every day and you're only getting older, and you are a college dropout, and you have really no prospects in life outside of chasing your dream, and those are your circumstances, you wake up every day with a lot of doubt. You wake up every day with a lot of worry. You wake up every day and you're facing the unknown. And you're facing the unknown with nothing else other than your belief in yourself. And I know how against the odds I was, and I know just how impossible this was, because nobody believed in it. The only person that believed in it was me. And I had a plan and I had a vision, and that's why I always say I beat the house, because this whole thing was a gamble. And I'm a kid, from Las Vegas. I'm a gambler too, and in real life, I win a lot when I gamble. It's a crazy thing that I can't explain to anybody, but like, yeah, I've always been a risk taker, and I've always been willing to bet on me, and I've always believed in myself and believed in my abilities and believed in my vision for things. It'd be one thing if I was just kind of taking a shot in the wind and didn't really like know what I was doing or have a vision for anything, but I had a vision for myself and I had a vision for what I wanted to do, and I just had to build it. And I just had to build it one step after another, one year after the other, and keep building it and building it and building it. And when I decided to really take this thing seriously, every year after has been the best year of my life and best year of my career, and I can still say that to this day. We're only 4 months into 2025, and I can already say that this has been the best year of my career. So I would say that the legacy that I want to leave behind is somebody who beat the house, somebody who gambled on himself, and somebody who gripped victory from the jaws of defeat, and somebody who, no matter how the odds were stacked against them, and no matter how many people didn't believe in me, no matter how many people weren't on my side, I found a way to come out on top. And that's in so many things in my life. That's in my career here at FSW. That's in my career in other places that I've gone. And that's in the entire wrestling business in general. Nobody saw this for me. Nobody wanted this for me. And that's a lot of the story of Lights Camera Faction. That's why I say anywhere I go, a lot of, in a lot of promos, you'll hear me say, I rip the script up and we have our own script, we have our own movie, because, my life has been a movie.
Yeah.
It's legit been a story, like that you would see in a movie. And that's because like no one's gonna there are people that get into this and people have a vision for them, and people have people have ideas for them. People are like, man, I could see you doing this, I could see you doing that, I could see you going on and having all this success. Nobody ever did that for me. Nobody ever said that to me. Nobody ever had that for me. Everything that I've achieved, everything that I've accomplished is because I had a vision for myself. So I think putting that message out into the world is something that a lot of people need to hear, because I feel like a lot of people are scared to chase their dreams. A lot of people are afraid of their chances of being successful. Brother, I had zero chances of being successful in this, but I believed in myself, and I navigated and built this thing with my vision. And if you believe in yourself and you have a vision for yourself and you can see something that nobody else can see, even if you're the only one who can see that, it's on you to believe in yourself and to bet on yourself to build it.
You mentioned that your life is a film, and that brings me to my last question here. The Joe Braxton biopic has been greenlit.
Okay.
Who's the director?
Oh man, I get to
You
to
get to
pick.
choose. It's your life. You direct it.
I get to choose.
You get to. You're pretty much the producer on this. It's actually the first time I ever do this question,
Okay.
and what your last statement says fit right in. So you choose a director who's going to direct your film.
Ryan Coogler.
Ooh, nice, nice.
Ryan Coogler.
What's the
Yeah.
title of the film?
Um, Beat the House.
Nice.
Beat the House. Yeah, that
Actor
would be
to
the name of the movie.
portray Joe Braxton.
The actor. Oh man, who could be me, bro? That's a good question. Um, I'm gonna give a couple options.
Okay. There's a couple people up for the part. Nice.
Say Donald Glover would be up for the part.
Okay.
I would say who's what's the name of that dude?
From which film?
Man, what? He's I can't even think of his name right now, bro. I can't even think of the name of the role he played. That's crazy.
What happened in the film? Do you remember?
I
Childish Gambino's a good choice.
I
Actually.
like him, but I also like this other kid too, man.
Young Cat.
Yeah, he's a freaking young dude, man. But I can't even think of his name. I can't even think of the name of his role. But just because I'm stumped right now, I'm gonna definitely say Donald Glover. And if we were to pick a wrestler to do it, just for my own amusement, I would pick the coldest wrestler on the planet, Ice Williams.
Nice. Okay. Nice. Nice.
My movie.
The opening credit song.
Opening credit song.
What song is the Paramount?
Oh yeah,
mountain is going, and then the Universal symbol is going on, or maybe even the New Line Cinema is going on. What song is opening up Beat the House?
I would say the entrance music for Lights Camera Faction, which is a song called "Like It or Not" by an artist named Zie. You can find him on Instagram, Twitter, wherever at ZOKC. That's
Perfect.
ZIEOKC.
And that's going on my gym playlist right when I get home.
There you go.
And how does it end?
It's crazy because I feel like I haven't even lived the ending to that movie yet. I feel like the ending of that movie is I feel like it's close. I feel like it's on its way. But I feel like it's just so crazy the results that have happened over the last 5 years of my career. And I truly believe that it's all been building up to a breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a breakthrough that I haven't seen yet, but it's a breakthrough that I'm seeing, if that makes sense. I'm still the only one who can see it, if that makes sense.
That's a pretty good answer, actually. And right now in your film, in your life, we're at the rise right now. We're not near even the climax of anything. I hope to follow your career more and more and more, and I appreciate you for taking the time of speaking with me here on the Cutting Room Podcast. It's such a great interview. Joe Braxton, pretty much thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey.
Such an honor to always have wrestlers on here and actors and everything. And what you do in the ring, what you do for the fans and everything, it's really it's a labor of love. I love what I see, when people are really passionate about what they do. So appreciate you guys. And then that is a wrap on the Cutting Room Podcast with Damian King and Joe Braxton, the star of the 2000s. Would you like to say anything to the fans?
Yeah, you can hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, on under Real Action Brax. Support my man, support the Cutting Room Podcast. I really appreciated this interview. I feel like you had a lot of really cool, interesting, and different questions that I was not expecting to get.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed my time on the show, bro. You got a good show here, bro.
Appreciate it, man. I've had the pleasure of interviewing people like Gypsy Mac. I've had her on there, as well as Brittany Brooks has also come on this, and it's another honor to have a close friend of Chris Bay as well. But
there you go.
Honestly, I've looked forward to this interview for a while, man. Appreciate you.
Oh yeah, bro. Hey, that's a wrap.
And that's a cut.